I'm here with Zach Carlson from the Alamo Drafthouse, and we just saw Best Worst movie, which is about Troll 2, an amazing film from what I've heard. And this is the great thing about it is I've never actually seen Troll 2. I'm about to see it here in 10 minutes.
I think everyone's discovery of Troll 2 had to be unique. I mean, it did play a lot as a late-night cheap fill-in on HBO, and they just throw it in a slot when they had nothing else and they thought nobody was watching. And that was kind of the case in the late 80s through, in the early 90s through around, I guess, 95. That's what I was told. But a lot of other people just discovered it on video. It kind of had this reeking putrescence that comes off of it in the video store. I mean, it's like a really badly packaged film. It's a horrible layout on the cover. The child that's depicted on the cover of the video isn't even the kid in the movie. And it just looks incredibly shoddy. So that attracted some people to it. The first time I saw it, it was shown to me by my friend Big Gay Jerry. And while we were watching it, a homeless man, this is true, walked in, sat down on the couch next to me in their house, and nobody knew who this guy was. And he just said, "What's on?" And we watched Troll 2, and that was the kind of magic that happens.
I really thought the movie was interesting because it was directed by you, who were the child star of Troll 2.
I think documentary filmmaking in general, the best documentaries that I enjoy are ones that are very honest. And you get to see intimate parts of people's lives, and you get to know them very personally. And going into this film, it was really important to me that this story was much more a personal, character-driven story rather than kind of an outsider looking in. And it made sense to me to tell this story because who had more access? I mean, this was, and through a strange twist of irony, the film that I ran from, all of a sudden it was like I've got to tell the story, And so I think just having that access and working with these people previously, it made it easier to kind of reapproach them and get to know them and be very, get honest characters.
Another great thing that I really liked about the movie is you actually have a movie star in this movie. It was very obvious from the beginning that George Hardy, who always wanted to be an actor, who always wanted to take center stage and kick ass in a movie, he's finally got his great movie that he can be proud of, and all he did was play himself. How obvious was that to you when you were filming?
We went to the New York City screening at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater, and this was George's. It came from Alabama, and when I saw what had, how people loved him and how much he loved that, I said, that's my guy, because here's this small town Alabama dentist, drilling cavities one day, and the next day he's on, the stage being cheered by hundreds of people, and that's where I said, this is the guy.
The premiere was the first time I had seen the movie. I think I might have said that 2 or 3 times. I've got a cold from all this resistance to wanting to see this thing tonight or going to see it. But I think for me, I feel much more relaxed now because he did it in such a light. It's just a light, wonderful, fun movie.
It breezes right by, yeah.
It is. I started, honestly, about the first minute, I said, forget about your double chin or your balding spot here, or your hair coming out of your nose, or your purple nose, or all those little things that you don't like about yourself, or your mole right here, any little thing, or your belly, things like that. I had no clue, and it's really interesting. I wonder how other actors, really like somebody like Tom Hanks or Julia Roberts, or how they must feel about watching themselves all the time in a film.
Well, usually they have control over that.
How critical are they about it? Yeah, in a documentary,
you really positioned the director in an interesting way. Because it seems to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that he doesn't quite understand the cult value of the movie. Why people enjoy, some of the lines in the film that weren't meant to be funny. And how did you guys, as cast members, having this rebirth of the film with a different value set, how did you guys deal with that? And how has the relationship of everybody changed since it's been rediscovered?
With Claudio, it was really important to me that the same kind of heart that existed with Troll 2. I think one of the reasons why people like Troll 2 so much is this charming little heart. That same sort of heart existed with this story. It had to feel very genuine and authentic and sincere and not cynical. And so it was one of these things that, when I learned that Claudio had no idea really about why people liked this movie. It was concerning because I didn't want him to think that it was cynical or mean-spirited, you know, or anything like that. And so I thought, well, how do you tell? How do you tell the director that he made, you know, the worst movie ever made? I mean, and for me it was, I had to show him. You know, there's no way you could sit down and tell somebody like that and they'd understand it. I had to show him, brought him to Los Angeles for a screening, and then I was at ease because I saw him take in the positive energy from the crowd, you know, and I saw him like, okay, you know, I like this, you know, this whole vibe.
I think the thing about Troll 2 that makes it really work is that everyone involved was making an effort. Like Ed Wood was known for, you know, putting a lot into a movie and failing because nobody was supporting him. But Troll 2 had like a completely professional crew. It had really earnest actors, and because everybody put in everything, the failure of it is so warm and like you know, it's like is a car crash really as effective as like a bus full of children crashing, you know, like, and this is much more the bus full of children. Like, you know, there's a lot more emotion going into the tragedy of Troll 2 than into most any other bad movie.
Well, she was the last character in the movie in Troll 2 that we couldn't find. You know, that was our attempt, just to try to find all the major characters in the film. Right. And so Margot, who played my wife, we just couldn't find her until it took us a long time to find her address, honestly. And so we just didn't know, you know, what to expect when we went to her house, and it was beautifully done the way Michael, you know, brought her into the movie in a very touching way, you know.
One of the very good points about media and film in general is, you know, it has to move you, you know, and whether it's, and who's to say what's bad, really, you know? I mean, I've been to Troll 2 screenings where I've seen people having the time of their life, you know? I mean, there's nothing bad about that.
Yeah, it was interesting watching the movie tonight for the first time, watching Best Worst Movie. Honestly, I thought Michael put some stuff together that was genius in a lot of ways. It really was. I mean, I don't know how they were able to put this together so that you could see a movie about a movie, but not have to see the movie it's about. That was mind-blowing to me.
It seems like the Alamo Drafthouse is the place to see Troll 2, and this is going to be my first time, so I'm really excited.
Well, it's going to change your life, like more than puberty did.
Awesome. That's a lot to live up to.
I know. Those were good times.